When gaming was in its infancy and console gaming was only just starting to become the behemoth it is today, games had a pretty simple formula. Want to beat your plebeian friends in a game of Pong? Just score more points. Want to be the greatest Pac-Man player ever to have existed? Don't get caught by the ghosts. How do you win at Mario? Just run through all the levels as fast as you can and don't die. Games were shorter and replayable thanks to their difficulty, oftentimes high skill ceiling, and just in general relied on fun gameplay. But everything changed in 1986 when The Legend of Zelda came out with two of the hottest new things on the market. Before Zelda came out, saving your game didn't really exist. And if it did, it was through these dumb codes that you'd have to write down on paper and then put in yourself. Ugh! But we're not here to talk about saving your game. We're here to talk about the second thing The Legend of Zelda did that would change the idea of what games could be. It introduced open worlds into the living rooms of baby gamers across the world. Open worlds were game changers. The idea of being able to roam freely and choose when to do what is probably the most immersive experience I can imagine. And The Legend of Zelda offered exactly that. The way you beat the game, of course, remains the same. Gather all 8 pieces of the Triforce and stab Ganondorf 27 times in the chest. But the order you gather the 8 pieces, when you get the items you need, or if you want to upgrade your hearts, you do you. It's your rodeo. I cannot tell you enough how fantastic open worlds have become ever since they became mainstream. I have vivid memories of playing GTA and breaking my elbow just to drive around town for a few hours while listening to some dope tunes. Or stepping into the grand lands of Skyrim and getting kicked into oblivion by a random giant I encountered. I really feel like the best experience in single-player games comes from going on an adventure within these fantastic open worlds. Hold up, stop. If you truly think that open world games are the best, most immersive, and hottest thing around, why the heck is the title of this video Open World Games Are Bad? Well, because while I think that the idea of open world games is the best, most immersive, and hottest thing around, most open world games aren't doing so hot nowadays. The hype about open world games hasn't changed. Baby gamers still pre-order all the grand upcoming games and get incredibly excited about getting their hands on the newest space adventure from every single AAA studio ever. And I get it, I really do. Ever since they became mainstream, open world games have been the most freeing experience in the gaming world. So then, why are they so bad now? Well, there's a few reasons. Open world games have historically always strived to become bigger. I mean, the biggest selling point of Fallout 76 was that it was
4 times the size of Fallout 4.
An open world game really can feel grand when there is a ton to explore and run around. Sadly, it's really hard to create an experience like going on an adventure and traveling across Middle-earth to complete the main quest of throwing the ring into Mount Doom. Oftentimes, the game actually ends up being exactly like Gollum, a complete mess who ends up burning down into nothingness. Making these massive games is hard, costs a lot of money, and takes a lot of time, especially when handcrafting them. Are you planning on developing grand open world games that are bigger than ever before? Want to avoid spending years and unimaginable amounts of money on placing every single model of a spoon around your game world? With procedural generation, you can make all the money with a lot less effort and manpower. Trust me, this is the solution for you. Get the heck out of here! The thing that I hate the most in open world games right now is procedural generation. And sadly, it's the thing most game studios who make open world games have started using now. Procedural generation is where you simply allow the game to generate the world for you using the building blocks that you give it. Procedural generation can be amazing when it's done well, like in Minecraft, for example. But it can also create the dumbest things that completely break the immersion and take all the personality out of the game. To really see the difference between handcrafted and procedural generation, let's just take a look at two different games. In Breath of the Wild, you run around a pretty huge game world, and your only real end objective is to stab Ganondorf, just like in the first one. But I cannot tell you how often I got distracted while trying to get to Hyrule Castle due to some random dude who told me a riddle about where I could find treasure, or a shrine that I encountered that could give me more stamina, a random landmark that sparked my interest, or a tower I just had to climb. Meanwhile, on the other hand, we have Starfield. It's massive, like genuinely massive. But most of the travel you do is through fast travel. There isn't really a diversity in what you encounter after the first few hours, and most planets are completely empty. Do you know what Bethesda gave as an excuse for their game being empty? The fact that the moon is also empty, but that the astronauts weren't bored while they were there. Imagine telling people that they're wrong for feeling bored when they are on a planet that contains literally nothing. But at least the world is
4 times the size.
right, Todd? When playing in a handcrafted open world, you're faced with playing through every inch of exciting content and fun gameplay and interesting places to explore that distract you from the end goal of the game. But in most procedurally generated worlds, there's oftentimes just the same repetitive thing you encounter over and over again. You don't really feel excited to explore its massive size. So, are handcrafted open worlds then the solution? That's debatable. Hogwarts Legacy is also handcrafted, and honestly, the world is beautiful. Walking through Hogwarts and exploring every nook and cranny of the castle was a fantastic experience. I loved flying around on my broom and committing genocide left and right, and catching fantastic beasts to save them from horrible poachers. And the lady better known as my girlfriend was brewing potions for days on end. But after a few hours, you start to realize something. You're doing the same thing over and over again. There are only so many different potions to brew and ingredients to collect, and none of the gameplay goes further than the basics. Wait a minute! That sounds a lot like what you mentioned with procedural worlds! Exactly! Something incredibly important, which a lot of developers seem to forget, is that a game is only as good as its gameplay. Like I said at the start of this video, single-player games used to rely on their difficulty and oftentimes high skill ceiling and just on fun gameplay. The focus on size nowadays is distracting from the importance of fun, deep gameplay systems that are the foundation of a fantastic and immersive open-world experience. There's this fantastic quest in Hogwarts Legacy where, spoiler alert, you can take over a shop, but you have to clear out the poltergeist in the basement first. The quest is fantastic, probably the best side quest in the whole game, and the prospect of getting to manage a magical store as side content is so exciting. Just imagine saving fantastic beasts from poachers and then just selling them off yourself. Or selling the clothes from all your war crimes and setting them up all nice in your store. It would have been amazing. But then you find out that it's just a glorified shop location where you can sell your loot for just a little bit more money, which, let's be honest here, you had way too much of to begin with. Back in 2015, a game came out that took the world by storm. And surprise, it was an open world game. But that wasn't the only thing The Witcher 3 did. This game was handcrafted, Gwent, had incredible side quests, Gwent, great varied combat encounters, Gwent, fantastic crafting systems, Gwent, a diverse selection of loot, Gwent, and most of all, amazing gameplay systems. Killing monsters, collecting treasure, all the interesting and realistic side characters you could interact with. I could make an entire video about how The Witcher 3 is still among the top best single player games of all time. And it came out 9 years ago now. It simply did so much right. And while the game took about 4 years to make, and a team of 250 people, if you ask me, it was worth every bit of it. The point I'm trying to make is that making a fantastic open world game takes a lot of blood, sweat, and tears. It takes the right people and the right idea to truly make something immersive and awe-inspiring. And it's all of those things that a lot of open world games lack nowadays. Most developers just want to make it the biggest game ever without thinking about what actually fills it up. They want to create it as quickly as possible and make a ton of profit without thinking about how that will affect the replayability or the enjoyment of the whole game. And then there's the bugs. My god, if there's one word that perfectly fits with release day open world games, it's bugs. But that's for another video. I genuinely love open world games. I always have. My teen years were filled with these wonderful experiences that helped me escape into incredible adventures, and I got excited and thrilled for every upcoming release. Occasionally, a fantastic one does appear still. For example, Baldur's Gate 3 and Elden Ring are games that are truly groundbreaking, and it's no surprise that they are handcrafted worlds filled with interesting and fun gameplay. I currently don't have any open world games that I'm really looking forward to, and that's really sad, because I truly think that they have the biggest potential for greatness and immersion out of any game genre out there. An open world game doesn't have to have the biggest map ever. It doesn't have to be a complete galaxy with a million generated planets. It just has to be filled up properly with exciting things to explore and fun things to do. I hope that soon, I and the other baby gamers around the world can be excited again about the open world games that come to their living room. But for now, I'm just gonna have to replay the ones that made me love them so much in the first place. Thank you so much for watching this video. And if you're still watching at this point, I'd love to hear from you down below in the comments whether you agree with how I feel about modern open world games. I'm currently trying to upload a video about games once a month, so if you're curious about some of my other videos, I made one about couch gaming and one about classic games that had an impact on my childhood that you can click on right here. Otherwise, again, thank you so much for watching this video, and hopefully I'll see you in the next one. Cheers!